Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar where we're going to talk about how to maximize your Chromebook and dig into all those features that aren't obvious right off the bat, but are in there and can be real powerful for supporting pretty much all our learners and ourselves even. I think you might pick up a little tip or trick here for yourself too. My name is Mike Marotta, and I am an assistive technology specialist or inclusive tech evangelist. I guess when you have your own company, you get to call yourself whatever you want. I am coming to you from New Jersey. I'm happy to be part of this training program, and there's my contact information. As you watch through this, what I would encourage you is, because it's recorded, take some time, and if something grabs you as I'm explaining it, stop the video and go explore. Then come back. The beauty of the recording is I'll always be here. I'm not going to go anywhere. But check those things out. I want you to kind of have an opportunity to use this information in a way that works best for you. And if you want, feel free, reach back out. There's all my contact information on the slide, my email address, my website, my Twitter handle. Feel free to reach out with questions or thoughts or comments or ideas of how you might use this information in order to better meet the needs of your students. So as we go through, we'll be together for about 30 minutes, give or take. And here's our kind of big plan. Three big pieces that we'll look at. We're going to think about how we can support all of our learners using Chrome, in this case the Chromebook itself and Chrome. We're going to talk a little bit about the built-in accessibility features of your Chromebook. We'll talk a little bit about the Google Suite of apps that you have access to. That's your docs and slides and sheets and all those great tools. We're not going to go into how to use them necessarily. This is not a training on how to use the Google Suite. Instead, this is about how to look at some of the creative features of the Google Suite and use them to support our students. And then finally, I'll give you some suggestions of some next steps of how to move forward with this information and explore. If you're looking for the slides, and the slides do have some information embedded in them. There are some links and some other pieces of information there. So if you want to actually see the slides as well, they are located at that link on the screen right now. So it's bit.ly/MMATP-Chrome OS. That'll get you to the slides. Everything we talk about, I also want you to think about in a lens of universal design for learning. How does UDL kind of encapsulate or bring in all of the information we're talking about with the Chrome operating system and using the Chromebooks? Think about ways we can provide options for engagement, representation, action, and expression. How do we do that? Through using the digital tools that are available to us on the Chromebook in the Chrome operating system. I know this recorded module, we're talking mostly about the Chromebook. So we're really talking about the Chrome operating system, which runs on the Chromebook. You can run Chrome on everything. In fact, as you're looking at my screen right now, I'm running Chrome right now on a PC. So that doesn't really matter what computer I'm using it on. But the focus of what we're going to talk about is some of the added features. What we're going to talk about right now, I should say, is the added features of Chrome that we get specifically in the Chromebook because of the way that Chrome operates directly there as an operating system in the Chromebook. So we'll start with the built-in accessibility features. For me, personally, any computer application we talk about, any technology application we talk about, this is where I always start. Start with what you have. We are in a situation now, technology-wise, not just in education, but technology that we all have. We're in a spot now where every device you have has a set of features built into it automatically that allow us to customize the experience to best suit our needs. I mean, how many of us on our phones have larger print? I do. I remember when the person was setting it up in the store, and he asked if I wanted that. And I said, no, I don't want that. That's fine. I'll be all right. And then he showed me, and I said, oh, I definitely want that. That's great. Why wouldn't I want that? But that's part of the feature set of my phone. Your phone, too. I don't even know what kind of phone you have, but I know it's in there. We have another recorded module on built-in accessibility features of all devices. So if you're interested in that, go check that out for sure. I think the power of built-in accessibility is this idea that we can customize the experience for someone without having to purchase anything, without having to install anything else. And I'm not saying these are going to be the best features, and they're going to be the deepest features, and they're going to be the feature that ends up working for a student, but what these are good trial features to see if something might work. I call this sometimes our proof of concept. I think this might work for someone, but I'm not sure, but I'm going to try it. And I'm going to try it with the built-in features, and I'm going to use them until I can't use them anymore. I'm going to use them until they no longer meet the person's needs, and then I'm going to look for something else that provides the extra features I need in order for that person to be successful. So when we're on our Chromebook, you have built-in accessibility features. I gave you some screen captures on the slide there that we can talk about. If it's been set up in a way to give you easy access, your accessibility features might be right in your system menu. So if you're on your Chromebook, go down to the bottom right corner where it says the time and it shows your battery and whether you're connected to Wi-Fi. If you click there, what's it going to pop open? It pops open your start menu and your system menu there. And in there may be a button that says accessibility. If you see the pictures from there, that's my Chromebook. It pops up, and that is right there in the settings that I can access right from my screen at any point. The power of that is it eliminates my need to go into the system settings. Think about it. Every time we want to go and we want to adjust something, we go into settings. You're going to adjust your phone. You go into the settings app and you do that. How many of our students are not able to access the settings of the Chromebook because they've been locked out of that? Which is fine. I'm not here to rail against that. I get why the IT department may decide to stop us from getting in there. That's fine. But it's only fine until I need to get in there in order to make that modification to the way my device works. And if I need access to that, and by I mean the student needs access to that, how do we set that up in a way that they can get in there? Because I can go into settings, and that picture on the top left there is the settings menu from my Chromebook. I go in there, I went into settings, I scroll all the way down, I click advanced settings, and I scroll all the way down again, and I get to accessibility. I can click on the button that says manage accessibility, and then it'll show me all the features, and I can move through them and turn on and off whatever I need. But if I can't get in the settings, I don't have access to any of that. So instead, the Chromebook, the Chrome operating system, gives us this one little button that allows us to turn it on, and it says always show accessibility options in the system menu. When I click that button to turn it on, now every time I go down and I click on my Chromebook onto the system menu, accessibility pops up. I don't even have to go into settings anymore. So now my student can independently go into that, click that button, turn on and off the features they need when they need them, as opposed to being locked out of it and them having to request access and someone having to grant them access to turn something on and off. So instead of building a system that requires the students to be dependent on one of us, adults in the situation, how about creating some independence? And by doing that, by turning that feature on, now the students have access to all the features whenever they want them. It's always interesting. I'm going to talk to us about a couple. We're going to go over a couple, what I would consider some of the bigger ones that will get more use from the students. But I know one of the settings there in the accessibility is a large cursor. You click that, you turn it on, and it makes your arrow huge. So as you navigate around the screen, you have a large arrow. And I remember speaking to an IT department rep at one of our schools, and he had said to me, I don't want to turn on the accessibility features because all the kids put on that big arrow. And I looked at him, I said, so what? Who cares? Well, I don't like that at all. And this is one of those moments that we probably run into quite a bit to remind people, it's really not about you at all. It's about that student. And if they're finding some value in that, it's not impacting anything. From the IT perspective, it's not impacting the way that the network runs. It's not causing some kind of issue on the network or some kind of security breach of some kind. It is, in essence, no impact on anyone else except that student that's using it. And that's where we need to remind people that these features, I shouldn't have to explain to you why I want to turn on the large cursor. I turn it on. I use it. I use the large cursor on my Chromebook. It's easier to see as I'm navigating around a page. It's bigger. It stands out. It doesn't impact anyone else. One of the important things too about our Chromebooks, when we think about the Chrome accessibility, which is what we're talking about here, remember when you're on the Chromebook, you log into it so it knows you as soon as it launches up. Any of these settings you turn on and off will automatically load when you log into it. So I, as the user, don't have to go in every time and turn on large cursor. I've turned it on once, and every time I log into my Chromebook, or for that matter, any Chromebook, it shows up. And so it's really powerful, especially in this idea of getting the students moving into an activity quickly without hurdles that they have to jump over in order to set up their device to work for them. And that's one of the real powers of the Chrome operating system on the Chromebooks. They set it up once, it's always set up for them as soon as they log in. A couple of the big features that are built in, because these built-in features are also features we see students use a lot when we go and we purchase tools to support our students as they're learning. One of them is the ability to have text-to-speech. I have print on the page that I'm not able to interact with for whatever reason. Again, I think sometimes that accessibility features are grouped into kind of buckets. This is a tool for someone with a visual impairment. This is a tool for someone with a hearing impairment. This is a tool for someone with a learning disability. I would encourage you to take those buckets and throw them aside. What does the tool do? Does that feature benefit the individual we're talking about? Does that feature meet the need that that student has? That's all that should matter. So select to speak. I see text on the screen. I am not able to interact with it. I struggle with comprehension. Perhaps it's a visual need. Perhaps I have some type of learning disability. Again, the disability that I have doesn't matter. The issue is I can't interact with text on the screen. I turn that feature on, which is called Select to Speak in your Chromebook. And when you do that, it allows you to highlight text on the page and it reads it out loud. And I'll show you, I took a screen grab from my Chromebook just so that we could see what it does. And so what you'll see is I've clicked a button on the bottom, which is a little speaker. I'll highlight some text with the mouse, and then it will read it.
Daniel H. Pink, the #1 best-selling author of Drive and to Sell is Human, unlocks the scientific secrets to good timing to help you flourish at work, at school, and at home.
So you see what happens there is there's a little button on the bottom that I click to turn on, and then anywhere on the screen I put my cursor, you just simply click and hold and draw a box. It in essence creates a box around the text. When you release it, you'll notice that box stayed there, so it was a pink box that surrounded the text. And then the device, the Chromebook, read the text out loud to me It also had highlighting as it went. Built right in, and actually very good. I can adjust things. I can adjust the voice. I can adjust the speed. I can adjust the color of the highlight. All of those things are adjustable within the settings. But once I do those adjustments, it's as easy as clicking the button and choosing text on a screen, and it will read it to me. Great, that's built right in. I don't need any other tools until I need other tools. In order for it to read that text has to be accessible, meaning that the computer can see that text on the screen. On a web page, that works really well most times. On an email, in a word processing document, all those things work pretty well. It starts to fall apart on things like a PDF, an electronic textbook, a picture that has text on it. Those things would be inaccessible. Those pieces of text are not able to be pulled out for the computer to read it. But if I need access to them, which for a lot of the students, they need access to that as well, we have to look for another tool that does that. This is where we talk about this idea of moving from a need that is met by a built-in feature to a need that needs to be met by a tool that I purchase. But it's looking at what that need might be for the student. So we looked at text to speech, right? I have text on the screen, I click a button and it reads it out loud to me. The opposite or the flip side of that is speech to text. I speak, it does something. Where if you're using the Chromebook or the Google Suite, you're using Google Docs. I'm going to take a guess that you're using Google Docs. Google Docs has voice typing in it. We're all pretty familiar with voice typing. I actually have a slide about voice typing that will pop up in a little bit. But the struggle with voice typing is it only works in Google Docs. And it also works in slides. But in slides, only in the notes underneath each slide. Right, not in the actual slide itself. So that's the voice typing feature. It's really the newest feature in your Chromebook for its built-in accessibility is the idea of having dictation. Now I can turn on a button, and again, along the bottom of the screen, it provides me with a little microphone. And if I click that little microphone, anywhere I can put my cursor on the screen, it will allow me to dictate text into it. So now I can be anywhere. I can be on a website. I can be in a search engine. I could be in a web-based form. I could be in a Google slide, actually in the slide part, creating text that will show up on the slide. So it allows me to do that all through dictation. I'll give you a quick little video of that as well. One of the newest accessibility features that we have in the Chrome operating system is dictation. So now we have dictation everywhere on the Chromebook, not just in Google Docs and not just in Google Slides. So once that's activated, and you'll see the check mark there to say it's on, it drops a little icon on the bottom of my toolbar. Now anywhere I am on the computer, here I am in Google Docs, I could go anywhere else that I could type into. Just simply click the dictation button, and now I have dictation in any place I can type with the keyboard. Hopefully you heard that little beep. That's one feature of the built-in dictation that's a little different, is that when the tool recognizes a pause that's longer than a certain period of time, it automatically turns off. So be careful with using this with individuals. Make sure to remind them that checking to make sure that the feature is still on and that it didn't turn itself off. Yeah, that's a really, thanks Mike. That's a really important feature. This idea that, if you think about it, for dictation and for speech to text, a lot of times what I will encourage students to do as they're working through that as a way to write is I will tell them, if you're not sure what you're going to write, don't say anything. Because how many of us have used dictation, voice typing, or whatever we want to call it, and the microphone is on, and then you kind of say, and you're not really sure what you're going to say, and then it writes all that down, and then you have all these editing pieces to do. With voice typing, you can click the button and turn it on, and it'll just sit there and wait for you. So once you formulate the idea in your head, you speak it out loud, and then it writes it. With the dictation, it's a little different. If you click the button to turn dictation on and then start to think about what you're going to write, it may turn off before you write. And that's a feature that Google has put in because that is system-wide dictation. And they don't want a potential for someone to click the microphone on, forget it's on, and then move to some other window and have the computer potentially recording their conversation or their information. So it's a safety thing about privacy and not getting too much information out there. But when we use it as a dictation tool, we have to remember to listen for the tone to let you know that the microphone first came on, and then to make sure it didn't turn itself off after that. There's an on-screen keyboard within your Chromebook. Perhaps you've played with it, maybe you haven't. It is pretty straightforward. It's like every other on-screen keyboard we have on every other device we have. It's a virtual keyboard. It puts the keys up on the screen. You can click them with the cursor, with the mouse, with the trackpad. If you have a touch screen, you can hit the screen, whatever you're going to do. One of the biggest features of that Chrome on-screen keyboard is it does have word prediction in it. So if you're looking to explore whether word prediction will work for a student or not, this might be a way to do it. One of the things that we need to be aware of, though, is with the word prediction, the word choices will only show up on the keyboard if you start typing the word on the virtual keyboard. So if I have the on-screen keyboard up and I start typing on my computer, on my physical computer, the words are not going to pop up. But if I use my trackpad or my mouse and I click the letters, then the words pop up. People will often ask, how good is the on-screen keyboard? It's about as good as your phone. It's the same kind of on-screen keyboard, same kind of dictionary that it has in it. It's a good indicator of whether a tool like that will be appropriate for a student. And again, we use that to show the student understands that, can independently access it, and finds value in that for their writing. Those are good examples of why to go forward and perhaps purchase word prediction. There's also dictation on that keyboard too. People would often be lamenting the fact that they only had dictation in voice typing. And that's not true. You've always had dictation on the on-screen keyboard. You just had to turn it on, and the microphone was always there. So that's another way to get to the dictation piece as well. Here's a couple other examples that I'll throw in there. These are my yes, but no, but yes built-in accessibilities. They aren't called that, but they are. So we'll look at these and we'll give kind of an example. If you're familiar with the iPad and you use guided access, this idea of locking someone into an app for either a set period of time or until you unlock the app to focus them to get their work done, people will ask, is there guided access in Chrome? And there's really not, but there is something called Kiosk Mode. And Kiosk Mode is what gets turned on when you do testing on the Chromebook so that you are in one screen and can't get out of it. That is Kiosk Mode. It can lock you into an app. The struggle with this is that you have to be the network administrator in order to turn it on and turn it off. So it's not easy to use, and quite honestly, I don't know how you would really pull that together on the fly unless you're actually the network administrator also. Well, then you're in business. Then you can just keep turning it on and off. But there is that mode. If you get to the slides that I gave you the link before, that video will show you how to put your Chromebook in a kiosk mode. The other one that is accessibility, but it's not listed under accessibility and it's not system-wide yet, is the use of closed captions. If you've been watching as I've been talking, the captions have been appearing. That is part of Google Slides now. So Google Slides has a toolbar that has a button on it that allows us to turn the captions on and off. And so now as I roll my cursor on the screen, it brings me up with the presentation toolbar. And then on that toolbar is the captions button. I can also change the text position and the size. So I can put it at the top or the bottom, and I can make the text large or small. So depending on how you want to do that. Great feature. It doesn't give you a transcript at the end, which is kind of a bummer. That's the part that bothers me a little bit. I wish it did, but it does not. And once that one line of text is gone, it's gone. You don't see it again. So there are positives and negatives to this. The positive is obviously accessibility and promoting an accessible environment is so critical, and just getting people used to this idea of supporting all learners this way. And again, Captions, who are they for? They're for, and there's my air quotes, they're for people who are hearing impaired. Many people use Captions, and the power of Captions as a literacy support, as a processing support for someone who struggles with processing and they can see the text up there to give them some extra support. Huge support, huge. And so that's part of Google Slides. Not part of the Chrome operating system yet, but anywhere you use Google Slides, you have access to that. And I would encourage you strongly, put that on every time you present. Start building an inclusive environment, and that's a great first step to do that. If you want to dig a little deeper into the accessibility features, we only went into a couple. There are a bunch. There are visual tools to adjust the contrast on the screen. There's magnifiers. There's things you can do with the cursor. I mentioned the large cursor. There's other things you can do with the cursor to highlight it and provide some support for that. Play with those. My strong suggestion is only turn on one feature at a time. Turn it on, play a little, turn it off, then turn the next one on. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go down that row and click them all on, and then you're not going to know what one you need to turn off in order to get back, and you have to turn them all off again. And so try them a little, because some of them you're not going to find any value in. But it's important to know what they are so that when a student identifies a need, you know that there's something built in that might meet that need for them. And that could be in their accessibility settings. All right, let's talk about the G Suite a little bit. And again, this is not a G Suite training, but what I would say with the Google Suite is that one of the key pieces, it's the piece everybody loves, is this idea of collaboration. Real-time collaboration, sharing, working together on materials is so powerful in the Google Suite. So we talked about voice typing. If you have not played with voice typing, go into Google Docs. Stop this right now. Go over to Google Docs and turn it on. Go into the Tools menu and click on voice typing. The little microphone will pop up and start dictating. I did want to give a plug, and this is weird to have to sell things. I'm not selling it. I'm just saying that it's a powerful tool. A couple schools that I work with were in search of wireless headsets that worked with the Chromebook. Now, a lot of times what happens is a lot of these wireless tools, they need a driver that has to be installed on the computer. So it has software that installs in order for the tool to work. Well, those tools don't work on a Chromebook because you can't install software on a Chromebook. So I found this nice headset microphone that does not require anything to be installed. It is plug and play. You plug in the little USB receiver, turn on the wireless headset. It's got about 50, 60 foot range. It's a great tool, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's about $30. We've been using this for some of the schools that I support for teachers to be wearing so that they can be speaking to the class and someone at their desk can follow along with what the teacher's saying on a screen. So it's giving captioning real time, transcription almost real time. And that was the reason we wanted that. So there, they get a good plug because it's a nice headset. We think about the collaborative piece of Google Docs. And one of the big pieces there, one of the critical pieces that people use all the time is the comments. Highlight something, put a comment to the side. The struggle for some individuals is that comment is text. And if they struggle with text, they may not be able to interact with it. How do we change that? This one is an add-on for Google Docs. So an add-on is a little app that installs directly into Google Docs. This one is called Kaizena. It has a free and a pay. I'm not saying pay for it. Maybe you want to, but I'm not saying you have to, because the feature that I like is part of the free. It allows you, when you click it, you'll notice on the side there on my Google Docs, it drops another column in there. In that column, one of your choices is to record an audio comment. So now I can highlight text on the document and then leave an audio comment for a student. I don't have to use text anymore, which is great. They can go through and leave comments back to me. Perhaps it's a quiz, and the quiz is there and they use text-to-speech to listen to it, but then they want to just leave an answer. They could just use Kaizena and record an answer. And then it would be done. The teacher would just click on those and it would play the little voice comments. The one key for this to be successful, everybody who you want to use it has to have this add-on. So if the student doesn't have this add-on, all they're going to see is the highlighted text, but not the audio comment. So everybody has to have it. But a great tool for that. If you haven't played with Google Slides, there's now the ability to install audio directly into a slide. So when you play the slide, it gives you a little audio button. So you see I'm rolling my cursor over that button. And what does it pop up with? But a play button and a slider for the timer.
Hi Mike, and thank you for inviting me to do a summary of...
There you go. So now I have this embedded audio right in my slides. You can do that. You could create audiobooks. You could provide interactive slide-based experiences that give additional information. The students could create their own interactive slides to demonstrate their knowledge about something. We think about that UDL approach to things, right? Representation could be the fact that I've embedded audio there to provide additional support. Action and expression. The students have pictures of something they want to share with you, and then they record their own audio and embed it in the pictures. Then you click it to hear what they know about that example, whatever it is they're showing with the picture. So that's under the insert menu in slides. The one trick here is you can't record audio directly into the Google slide yet. You have to create that audio somewhere else and then import it in. So there's one extra step. A little frustrating that there's one extra step, but it's not horrible, I suppose. I gave you this link here to the Cloud Audio Recorder. That's a website that will allow you to record audio directly on the web and then save that file to your Google Drive. So if the student or you, whoever's going to create the audio, goes there, hits record, says whatever you want, it drops that file into your Google Drive. Then you go into Slides, hit Insert Audio, and then search your Google Drive for it. And there you go. It'll embed with this little circle picture here. So a nice little feature of inserting audio. One other thing I would say, when we talk about digging deeper into the Google Suite, go beyond the big three. Go beyond docs and sheets and slides. In your Drive, there's a button there that says More. Click it. Go look at some of that more. Look at things like Google Drawings to create pictures and infographics and other representations of information for students. I gave you that link there to an article, a great article from Matt Miller that talks about the Google Drawings Manifesto, which gives you a huge array of examples of how to use Google Drawings to support students' learning. Google Keep. I'm not going to go into it too deep now because I see we're running out of time in our half hour here. But if you're not using this, this is the best kept secret in the Google Suite for organization, for time management, for note-taking, for all these kinds of supportive tools. If you haven't watched it yet, one of the other recordings that I did was all about executive function in Google, and I went deeper into Keep. So I'll keep it light here. But ultimately, Google Keep, it connects to your Google account, and it allows you to access your information everywhere. What you're seeing on the slide there is two examples. One is from my computer, one is from my phone. All of my information can cross over and be shared on either side. Any work I do on my phone shows up automatically on my computer. Any work on my computer shows up automatically on my phone. Synced together allows me to support my effective time management and note-taking through a use of that. And you have it already. So if you want to see what it's like, open up a new browser window in Chrome and go keep.google.com, and it'll bring you there. One other thing I want you to think about, it may be available on your Chromebook, is do you have the ability to do Android apps on your Chromebook? Do you have access to the Google Play Store? So if you look at the bottom of your Chromebook, does it have that little arrow icon, that little colored arrow icon, which is the Google Play Store? Newer Chromebooks are having this functionality to where now I not only have access to Chrome extensions and apps, but I have all of the apps that are available within the Google Play Store for Android. So now you're seeing this merging a little bit of the Chromebook and the Android platform coming together, which could provide a lot of powerful supports for our students. One kind of negative of this that you have to consider, if you're in a shared Chromebook environment, one of the powerful things about Chrome that we like so much in education is I log into my Chromebook, and what happens? All my features come and drop in. And then when I leave that classroom, I log out and it goes away and the next person logs in. So I can move around and my features follow me. If you were to install Android apps, they physically install on the Chromebook you're sitting at. So if you then give that Chromebook back to somebody and then pick up another one, you're not going to have that app again. So that becomes a discussion point. If you're going to use Android apps, you may need a dedicated Chromebook. Now, if you work with a dedicated Chromebook, that's fine. I have my own Chromebook. I'm the only one who uses it, so I can install my apps on it. But if I was in one of the schools I support and there are carts that people pick them out of all day long, that's not going to work because the app will not be there when I want it. It'll be on some other tool, and I'll have to install it again. So just be aware of that. So that's something that's coming with Chromebooks. So as we wrap up, what should we do with this information? You had a lot of info. Now what do you do? My suggestion always is reflect on things that could help, things you want to find more information about. When I think of some kind of action you could do, anytime I show accessibility features to somebody, I challenge those people. Find one person and show them one feature. Just let them know these things are there. I'm amazed at how many people don't know accessibility features exist in our devices. So share those accessibility features with others. Think about the Google Suite and ways you can use that in more of a UDL approach to provide support to students in those three big areas of engagement, representation, and action and expression. How can you kind of fold the Google Suite tools into that? And then finally, your challenge, go into your Google Drive and go beyond the big three. Try something out. Try a Google Drawings. Create a Google site. Use a Google form. All of those things that are there as part of our account, and a lot of people never use, but can be really powerful as a way to expand the use of the Chromebook. So those are your challenges as you go forward. If you get stuck, or you have questions, or you have thoughts, whatever it might be, reach out. There I am. There's my email address, my website address, my Twitter handle. You will see the pattern there. It's everything mmatp.com. Mike at mmatp.com. My website, mmatp.com, and my Twitter handle, mmatp. Reach out, and I would be happy to chat with you. Have fun, enjoy. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for watching. For more information, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov or email us at education.atp@nebraska.gov.